Our next speaker, Richard G. Kyle, was named as President and Chief Executive Officer of the Timken Company by the Board of Directors in May 2014. He was elected to the Board of Directors in 2013. Rich oversees all aspects of the Timken Company, which consists of the aerospace, process and mobile industry segments. The company provides Timken bearings and a broad range of other services and products, as we all know, including transmissions, gearboxes, motors, lubrication systems, and chain, all of which are used in a diversified markets to keep the world in motion. Kyle previously served as Chief Operating Officer of the Bearings and Power Transmission Group, a position to which he was named in 2013. In 2012, he was named Group President of Timken, responsible for the aerospace and steel segments, as well as the engineering and technology organization. Before joining Timken, Kyle had management positions with Cooper Industries and later was Vice President of Operations for a division of Hubbell. He started his career at Timken in 2006 as Vice President of Manufacturing, responsible for the company's global bearings operations. He was named President of the Aerospace and Mobile Industries segment in 2008. During his tenure, he led the mobile industries through significant changes, reshaping its product portfolio, market mix, operating capabilities, which yielded dramatic improvements in the company's financial performance. This is where it gets difficult. A native of Mishawaka, right? Indiana. Rich received a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue and earned a master's of business administration degree. And I've cut my page off, Rich. Where did you earn your master's? Northwestern. From Northwestern. So please welcome me in join me in welcoming Rich Kyle.
All right, good morning, everyone. I wasn't planning on starting off with a story about Mishawaka, but since Brian brought it up, the odds of this have to be relatively small, but there are two Mishawaka natives here at this year's BSA, as I found out last night. Randy from NSK came over and introduced himself last night, and we are the proud cavemen of Mishawaka was our alumni mascot. So, it's a pleasure to be here this morning in Amelia Island, back at BSA. I've been a couple years in a row. It's always great to spend time with people who care so much about bearings and our industry. I thank Brian and BSA for the opportunity to discuss with you how both I and Timken view the importance and future, as Brian alluded to, of relationships in our industry. And I thought to do that, I would start with a little background on myself. As Brian said, unlike many of you who've been involved in the bearing industry for your entire career, I am a relative newcomer to the bearings industry, joining Timken just over 9 years ago. And for those of you that know Timken, you know that certainly makes me a newcomer at Timken. And I've often joked that when I retire from Timken with 25 years of service, I will still be referred to as that new guy. And that's kind of the culture that we have at Timken. But I also feel very strongly it's one of the attributes that makes our company and the industry great. Not only do we have many people that have dedicated their entire professional career to the industry, but we also have many that carry that to multiple generations dedicated to the industry. So I was recruited to Timken, again, 9 years ago by Mike Arnold, who many of you I'm sure know because he was at this event for many years and very passionate about this event, and probably some of you have lost a few dollars to him on the golf course over the years here as well. It's been a great 9 years for me at Timken. Great 9 years in the bearing industry. Made a lot of relationships and friendships both in the industry and within the company. I'm going to try not to make all my comments today a direct commercial for Timken, but I won't be able to help myself completely because I do feel so passionately that we have a great company with a great history and a great future as a leader and contributor in this industry. So let me go back to, again, a little bit of history. As Brian said, as he's covering some of the education, I'm an engineer by education, but for me that largely ended when I took my last test. Coming out of school, probably wasn't the best engineer. Fortunately, we have a lot of other really great engineers at Timken. And as Brian said, a couple companies I spent my time with, I spent my first 18 years of my career in the electrical products industry as a manufacturer in that industry. And in that industry, manufacturers sell the vast majority of their revenue through a well-established network of distributors. And across that network, there were large publicly traded companies like a GE Supply. There were strong regional players within that network. There were companies that were focused on niche parts of the market, and there was also a very strong and thriving group of local distributors, usually family-owned, usually multi-generation family-owned. And during my time in the industry, manufacturers and distributors went through significant consolidation. They faced threats from new brands, new entrants, imports, rode many market and industry ups and downs over that time frame, and faced some interesting threats from technology and the internet and so on. And for the manufacturer-distributor relationship, for the vast majority of our business together, the lines were fairly black and white, and we both knew what our respective roles were. But there was also always a little bit of gray area there in the middle, where both sides were sensitive to where and how the others operated. And then there was always, while it was always a positive relationship, there was also always some pushing and pulling and from both sides. And obviously I tell you all of that not to educate you on the electrical products industry, but to highlight that despite it taking me a few years to find my true calling in the bearings industry, not all that time leading up to that was a complete waste, because there's certainly a lot of similarities between the industries, and certainly don't want to imply that we don't have our own unique opportunities and challenges within bearings. But as I look back on my career, there were probably more similarities than differences. And certainly one of the biggest similarities is the subject of this morning's meeting, and that is relationships and the importance of those relationships. And in my early history in the electrical products industry, certainly formed my strong view that has only been reinforced by my experience in the bearings industry, that strong manufacturer-distributor relationships are absolutely critical to long-term success. So long-standing relationships built on trust and transparency, as well as shared values and purpose and success, are absolutely essential to sustain success in the industry. And obviously that statement of the importance of relationships could apply a lot more to the distributor-manufacturer relationship. Relationships are important across business and important in life, and certainly within Timken. Relationships are important to us with our suppliers. They're important amongst the 15,000 associates we have around the world, with our investors and so on. But certainly for Timken and for us, nowhere is the relationship any more important than it is between the manufacturer and distributor. Timken's success in this channel is really our primary focus, and that success starts with a strong relationship. Relationships, the social part of the relationship, obviously can't be the only meaningful attribute. We all have competitors. The world's changing. We have to constantly change and innovate and find new ways to bring value to end customers with our products and services. But relationship is always in the top attributes for sustainable success. And to Brian's second point that he raised in regards to the changing in technology, the growth, the globalization of our industry, the demands on individual time, and changes in how we establish social relationships, I certainly believe that relationships will continue to be in the top attributes for success for manufacturers and distributors, certainly for the rest of my career. I believe relationships have been important historically. They're certainly important today, and I think as leaders in the industry, relationships will be very important when we hand it off to the next generation of leaders as well. That being said, I do agree, though, with Brian's point that the world has changed in how you initiate, build, and maintain those relationships. It's certainly different today, and it will really be different for the next generation who are practically born with an iPhone in their hands. And while there are parts of the good old days prior to those iPhones and Skype and email certainly that we can all reminisce about, I for one certainly would not at all want to change the opportunity to live in this era where technology is changing the social relationships. And I have a son that's off at college now, and I look at how I used to interact with my parents and friends when I was off at college, and I compare that to how I communicate with my son that is off at university. And there's just no doubt that technology has helped us to have a better, stronger relationship than what was ever possible at my days at Purdue. And Steve Smiler, that was for you. I mentioned Purdue. Fellow alumni Steve told me I couldn't stand up here without saying Purdue at least once. I've now said it twice, Steve, so I'll get back to my point. And for the foreseeable future, certainly I see that that same opportunity in business relationships. You still need to have the personal touches. Technology is no substitute for establishing the personal touches, but technology makes the touches much more impactful and much more efficient, and particularly with the globalization of the industry and business, it is so much easier today to maintain and establish meaningful relationships around the world than what it was certainly early in my career. And I look at this event much the same way. It's, you know, as the personal touches you have with, as an example with my son between semesters or trips. It's great that this event is focused on the social and personal side, or as Brian said, gets at least as much emphasis, maybe more than the business side, the bringing of the spouses and the emphasis on the social aspect. It's analogous to the quick visit home, but then the technology today is really allowing us to maintain many more personal and professional relationships out at an event like this than what we could have ever dreamed of before. I'm also very optimistic on the next generation, those that were born with the iPhone in their hand, that is not going to change as they move up in their careers as well. In fact, I think they're going to be capable of establishing and maintaining those relationships better than we are as a result of that technology. So the very short answer to Brian's couple of questions that he posed to us, are relationships still important to doing business? Yes, absolutely, unequivocally. Are technology and other macro factors going to diminish the importance of those relationships going forward? I certainly don't see that in our careers. I think there's always going to be a place for the human contact and the relationship, and that's, you know, a big part of the value that the distributor brings in the relationship with the end user for the manufacturer, and I think that's going to continue to be valued for a long time. So I've answered the couple of questions that were posed, and I'm going to shift a little bit now to how we think about those relationships at Timken and how that affects us both internally and externally. So we put a lot of emphasis on this at the company, and, you know, few areas: values, culture, and relationships. We focus internally very heavily on values, and our lead value is ethics and integrity, and we play by the rules. We're honest. We do what's right. We do that all around the world when we're representing the company. We emphasize it in recruiting. We emphasize it in onboarding, and it works. And it's an ingrained part of our culture. So is loyalty. So is respect. I already mentioned that I'm the new guy. If you take me out of the bringing the average down of the other Timken folks that are here, it's probably pushing 30 years. But as I said earlier, I think that's a great thing. You don't get a revolving door with Timken. You get a chance to build a relationship with quality business people and quality people, and to have that relationship long-standing. So the point of all that is that relationships both inside the company and outside the company are very embedded in our culture. Let me switch now to the focus of this channel in the company. As I said, there's really nothing more important for Timken than success in this channel. So a few ways we think about the relationship and its connection to success. Relationship, by definition, takes two parties, takes two-way communications, which means listening. It takes give and take, which means compromise. And then it takes making an investment in that relationship. And we're certainly working to do all of those, but touch on the investment side. We are very heavily investing in the relationship between and what's behind the relationship in regards to people and product and service and systems. And also within Timken, we have what we call the Timken business model, which we talk about with all of our stakeholders, our investors, our customers, and our employees. There's 4 focus areas within that. The first is technology. We love to compete wherever there is an engineering challenge. We like the tough applications that demand reliability. The second is the aftermarket. We want to be the preferred source of bearings in the aftermarket. And then the third is fragmentation. We like fragmentation, and we've tried to shift our business to serve the fragmented markets as well as the large OEMs. And the fourth is service. And obviously, to do all of those, you need strong distribution partners and strong relationships with those distribution partners. So to wrap up, we're very focused as a company on the importance of relationships both with inside the company and outside. And again, nowhere is that more important for us than the manufacturer-distributor relationship. Relationships that are built on trust, transparency, shared goals, and shared success. And we're 100% committed to that, and I look forward to our companies and our people continuing to build those relationships for many years to come. So thanks for having me this morning.